just go over like the same stuff that you said.
Okay.
Today is March 17th, 2014. Currently I am at 804 Piedra Vista Road, Northeast. I'm in front of the address there. This is a reference case number 14-23683. And approximately 0036 hours. Also present with me is Detective Cage with State Police and Sam 55. Can you give me your name and man number?
Yes, Jason Carpenter, man number 3837.
3837.
Sergeant what?
Jason Carpenter.
Jason.
Yes, sir.
Alright, sir. Can you tell me how you became involved in today's incident?
Yes, initially I was advised over the air that I heard open space call out that they had a subject at gunpoint. And at some point while I was en route, there was a mention over the radio about knives. So they had one guy at gunpoint and he was armed with 2 knives, I believe. As soon as I responded, I went through the backyard of, what's this, Target 20? I think it's 8. I had everything written down.
I was going to ask
anyway,
you, Sarge, what time did you get, what time did you respond? Do you know?
You know what? I don't know the exact time, but it was, I think the call came out at like 3:45, so it was probably about somewhere after 4 o'clock.
Okay, that's close enough.
When I had showed up, I went through the backyard of the calling party. Went through the backyard, through their back gate. I seen officers east of the backyard. Myself, Mike Monet, and Chris Wetterlin walked up. We went to assist open space units. Mike Monet was identified as CIT. I stood by while he conversed with the guy for probably about 45 minutes. Guy said, basically he wasn't coming off his little campsite.
Okay.
All his stuff was there. At one point he pulled out both knives. Took a few steps towards officers. I let the officers on scene know if he passes a certain point that we were going to use less lethal beanbag.
Okay.
Beanbag was requested. Beanbag taser was on scene. Also, handheld tasers were on scene. At that point, I requested people from SID, because I know they have beanbag tasers, and also K9.
Mm-hmm.
Also requested State Police. This guy was requesting to speak with State Police. I figured it would give us some leverage. Once K9 and Rope responded, they developed a plan. They took up the inner perimeter, kind of had Field 34's back off, secure the outer perimeter. At that point, I walked back out here to the street, made contact with James Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Got his opinion. At that point, it was made a call out, SWAT call out.
Okay.
Myself and James then started approaching the backyard. We made it through the backyard, and then we're clearing the back gate to the just east where the subject was, and we heard flash bang, and then I seen the dog deploy, and then as I started making my way up there, I heard shots fired. Rescue called to check on the subject, and he was eventually transported to UNM Hospital.
Okay. And so you're advising you arrived about 4 o'clock?
Yeah, it was somewhere after that.
Around there?
Yeah.
Okay. And you first advised it was you, Jeff, or McDaniel arrived, and Hernandez.
Yeah, they were already on
first to
scene.
Respond. Okay. Did you ever get the name of the individual that was up there?
Yeah, I did request, or at some point, one of the officers got his name and date of birth, and I relayed that information to our real-time crime center.
Okay. Do you remember his name?
James Boyd.
Okay. And you did talk to Real Crime Center, and they were, I guess, looking up info for him?
Yeah, they actually got back to us while we were up there.
Okay. What did they advise?
That he was paranoid schizophrenic, had extensive criminal history, run-ins with police, had battery on a peace officer, and to use extreme caution.
Okay. At any time was a CIT officer on hand?
Yes, Mike Monet initially I was with Mike Monet on a separate call. I had just showed up to a separate call. I seen Mike Monet. I said, hey, go with me to this call. So we both showed up at the exact same time.
And did you have any conversations with the subject?
I did.
Okay. And how did that go? Like, what was he...
That didn't go too well. After a certain point, I asked him, basically I told him, you know, he was being unreasonable. He got upset with me for telling him that.
Okay.
Then I told him, he was saying that he was part of the federal government. I told him, I know you probably believe that, but that's probably not the case. And I was trying to reason with him. At a certain point, he got so upset with me, I told him, look, I'm done talking to you.
Okay. How far away would you say you were from the suspect?
I'd say we are about a good 20, 25 feet.
Okay. And it's my understanding that he was advising that he knew people, or he was part of the FBI or state police or whatever.
Right.
At some point, it's my understanding that he requested a state police.
He did. He said state police liaison. So I was thinking that, well, maybe if we get a state police officer to respond, let them talk to him. Maybe, you know, and I even told him at one point, I said, hey, state police is on their way. You know, I tried to let them know that, hey, you know, we're trying to meet you halfway. Can you put your knives down? At no point did he say, he actually got upset with me and said, don't question me about what I'm armed with, and don't ask me to put them down. There was several things that were said.
Okay.
He got upset, so I kind of stepped back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you describe him for me?
His description?
Yes.
He looked about above 6 feet, 6 feet tall, about 260 pounds, 270 pounds.
Okay.
White male, probably in his early 40s, maybe late 30s, early 40s. When we contacted him, he was wearing sunglasses, had a beard, and later on through the call, he had black pants and had put on initially he had a gray button-up shirt. He had put on like a gray sweatshirt, and I think he might even put on some headgear.
Okay. And what color hair?
Brown beard. Like I said, I think something was covering his hat.
Okay. Had you ever seen him before?
No.
Didn't recognize him?
I don't.
Have you ever had any calls with him?
No, that I can recall.
Okay. Did you make contact with the actual callers of the incident?
I did.
Okay. And what was their reason for calling officers?
When I called talked to the reporting party, I had basically just asked them, like, you know, what information they know about this guy. He told me he had some pictures of the guy. The guy's been living there for a month. That they even had a neighbor that walked up there and told the guy, hey, you know, you're not supposed to be up here. You're not supposed to be camping or, you know, living back here. The guy got irate, started yelling at the dude. So the guy just backed off, went back to his house. I know he said that, and I don't know if I'm getting this from the call or from him, but I know that I'm thinking he had called police before.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's basically it.
Okay. How long would you say that you were in contact with him? That you were talking with him? And
I'd say probably about an hour and a half, but you know, the duration of the call was, I mean, we were up here probably past 3 hours, different people trying to talk to him. Right.
And did you see weapons in his hands?
I did.
Okay. And can you describe them for me?
Yeah, I know he had, initially he had both hands in his right and left pocket.
Okay.
And at one point he pulled out, and it looked like probably about, the way his hands were holding it, the blade was probably sticking out about 3 inches. So it might have been a longer blade, but he kind of had him in his hands like this, and started walking towards officers. So, I mean, you could see it was 2 silver, probably 3-inch blades.
And that was in his right and left hand?
Right and left hand.
And I understand at some point he put them in his pocket and then would bring them back out again, or did you see him with them the entire time?
He would put them in his pocket. He, 2 separate times, I believe, one time he brought them out, put them back in his pocket. Another time he had brought them out, but wasn't holding them in the same manner, and then put them back in his pocket.
Okay. And was he just standing there, or was he moving around?
No, he was moving around, yelling at us, telling us, basically he hated us, didn't want us there, and that he had jurisdiction over us. He was with the military. He was with...
Did he make any verbal threats to you? Or to your officers?
He did. At one point he said that this wasn't going to end well.
Okay.
I know he had alluded to the fact that he was military trained, and that he had more training than us, and he wouldn't be the one to get hurt, that it would be us. There was several statements made, and I can't remember everything this guy was saying.
Okay. Do you remember about what time you left from that location and kind of backed down a little bit?
It was probably 2 hours from the time I arrived.
Okay, so maybe about 6 o'clock or so?
Right.
And when I say back down, what position did you go to from that point?
There's a little walk path. Initially, I came to the walk path, and K9 was making contact with him, talking to him, and then I had walked down to the backyard of the caller's location, and then I walked out to the street to make contact with James Fox.
Okay.
And then we started our way back towards their location, but at that time, like I said, a flashbang was deployed, and then the K9 was. When
you heard the flashbang, were you out here on the street? Or?
When I was like kind of in the backyard. There's a little gate which leads to the east open space area, and I was kind of like in that little gate area. Heard the flashbang. I looked up and I seen the dog go, and then I had looked back down because there's like vegetation, and then I heard some what sounded like gunfire, but I wasn't sure if it was that or baton. I wasn't sure what it was. And I had looked back up, and I seen the officers that were kind of behind the dog and kind of by the rock where he was standing at.
Okay. So could you even tell what caused the dog to go that way, or what they were doing?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm thinking that myself.
Okay. And did you hear any commands or anything like that being given at that time?
No. I guess I like that tunnel vision.
Okay.
I even looked up at James and I said, "Hey, what was that?"
Okay. And what were you armed with when you first arrived on scene?
When I first showed up, I had a beanbag.
Okay.
I handed the beanbag off to Chris Wetterlin. And then I was standing next to Mike Monet. He was talking with the guy, but he also had his rifle. So I went to Mike Monet.
Monet had his rifle. Okay.
And then I went to taser, the handheld taser.
Okay. And what other weapons do you have on your person?
I have, besides the taser, I have my 1911, my Kimber 1911.
Okay. And at any time, did you deploy any of your weapons?
Negative.
Okay.
No, not at all.
And did you have a recording device going?
I did.
And what was that?
The taser camera.
Okay. And was that processed? Or
yes,
taken, I guess?
They have it.
Okay. Criminalistics?
They do.
Okay. I don't know if I asked you this already, but did you recognize him at all, the suspect?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And you've been working in this shift for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you even remember anybody advising about problems that they were having in this neighborhood in reference to campers or anything like this before?
No, I mean, to be honest, when we're tied up, open space helps us out a lot.
Okay.
So I'd say probably 90% of the time, if there's a call up here, if they're not requesting it themselves, we'll ask them, "Hey, can you guys take that?"
Okay. Do you remember just talking to open space if they had made contact with this guy before? Okay. Anything else that I didn't ask you that you think is important?
Not that I can think of right now.
So the closest you got to him was 20 to 25 feet?
Yeah, it might have been even a little further, 30 feet, somewhere around there.
Okay. Did he ever say he wanted to harm himself in any way?
No. And I tried to ask him about his, medical history, as far as if he was seeing a doctor, and he got upset with me for asking him that. I asked him about being on meds, and he was just upset with me, and I was the guy that he didn't like.
Okay. Did he ever advise any family or anything like that? Or
that was asked of him too. He said that he did have family. He said he lived here for a year. He had family in, I believe, Oregon, and then we asked him if he had family. The question was asked if he had family here, and he said, well, look where I'm at. Like, kind of saying, like, no, I don't.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else you can think of?
No.
All right. And this whole incident, was it still daylight?
It was.
Okay. So you could have a clear view of him. Everybody pretty much had a clear view of him.
Right.
And it just to be correct, you requested the canine, and then at that time, like, SWAT arrived on scene, and then that's when they made it a call out from there, a SWAT call out from there, and then everybody just started showing up after that point.
Right. I requested canine, and you can say SID, unit with SID, because they have the beanbag taser, and rope showed up. Okay.
And then is it correct that they just pretty much took over the scene, and did they get some of your guys out, I guess, maybe, and take over positions?
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, they got all of the field units out.
Okay.
And they kind of took up an outer perimeter, and they were the inner perimeter, if you will.
Okay.
Like, SWAT, canine, and rope.
And normally, these type of trails, I mean, is there regular citizens that can run these trails or walk these trails?
Yeah, at one point we had people just to the east of him, kind of elevated position, that were standing, probably about anywhere from, I'd say, 10 to 15 people standing on the rock.
Oh, wow.
Looking. And then, we were trying to get a perimeter set up around so nobody got hurt, and then we kind of shut down north-south walk path, run path. And then there were some people that were trying to creep up from another side, and I know Pat Hernandez went into a position and kind of was trying to, minimize the amount of, civilians that we had out there.
Okay. And at that time, I mean, did it look like he was living out there?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think he said he was out there for a week, I believe.
Okay. Okay. And then where his position was it elevated a little bit?
It was.
It was elevated. Okay. So that made it a little bit more difficult.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you can think of?
No.
All right. We'll go ahead and conclude.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you. I think there's one other person, and I think somebody might have taken him already.
Yeah, I saw Karen walking by, so
okay, cool.
We'll go up there and see if they have anybody else, and kind of at some point we should be doing a debriefing soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
0045 concludes our interview with Sgt Jason Carpenter.